Are the Vancouver Canucks fixed here in 2023? Has the curse of gym betting been lifted? Find out next year on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer for Daily High Vancouver, and one half of the team here at Locked On Canucks. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. Make sure you go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I also got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Today, going to touch on the Canucks season opening press conference. It's here, baby. The season is here. Let's go. And the main topic we want to touch on are the Vancouver Canucks fixed. Speaking of fixed, they try to fix the back of goaltending situation as well. Bringing in Casey DeSmith. We're going to talk about him in segment 2. And the Canucks, maybe we'll touch quickly on the Canucks bad boy issue. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce someone who wouldn't necessarily call him a bad boy, but he's a pretty nice guy overall. Kyle Bowen. How are you doing, brother?
When I was younger, I felt as if there was a time in my life where I had to pivot to being a badass to get what I wanted in this thing called life. Okay, it wasn't a thing that I had to do to impress the ladies. It was just more of a career thing. But then I realized, especially after watching Oppenheimer last night, that nice guys have to finish first. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Okay, that's how the world gets saved. If you really think about it. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen. Yesterday in the live chat, we had a really funny comment. Okay, I know Comment Corner. We're going to save it for the end of the show. And on that note, somebody had one of the comments of the year. Okay, did the Canucks actually save a lot of money in the long term by trading Pearson now? We'll get to that at the end of the show. But first off, we had a dude who said, Trevor's eyebrows looks how Kyle's voice sounds. Dude, man, I think he's calling you ugly and me annoying. How do you feel?
Yeah, you know, my eyebrows have been a controversial topic my entire life. And I was going to say, if you're currently listening to this on an audio platform and not watch it on YouTube, I don't want to say you're missing out on my eyebrows because, maybe they're hard on your eyes, but they are pretty prominent. And I'm not really sure what to say. I was bored with it. It wasn't really something from my mom or my dad. It must have been passed down from, I don't know, one of my other Irish ancestors, I guess.
No, it's worked for you though, man. It's worked for you. Before we get to the hockey talk, has there ever been like a lady in your life, or let's just talk about your wife? Like, has she ever complimented you on your eyebrows, or has brought it up? Because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I get it. They're just different. They're more different than others, but they're nicely shaped though for what they are.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I don't know, I'm getting older, maybe losing some hair, losing some eyebrow hair here, but I think my wife. I'm trying to think. I don't know if she specifically talked about my eyebrows. Like sometimes I do a lot of this and she'll make fun of me for that. Sorry, audio only. I do a lot of stroking my eyebrows. Stroking the eyebrow kind of guy. But there's this one girl in high school who was obsessed with my eyebrows. She's like, oh my God, your eyebrows are so sexy and blah, blah, blah. So anyways,
wow.
That was it really got one girl going. The rest I'm not quite sure.
Hey, speaking of sexy, let's talk about Jim Benning, okay? Because I think there's a lot of people talking about Jim Benning recently in the last 24 hours because we're slowly seeing more of his contracts being traded. And then we're also having people compare some of the trades Benning made to what Rutherford and Alvin have done because of the allocation of draft picks going the other way, leaving a franchise, which is us, that's been at the bottom of the league and going elsewhere, which is kind of twisted if you really think about it. But it hit us yesterday again. In reality, the only way to get rid of bad contracts is attach that draft pick. Have you seen, again, those comparisons come to be, and do you believe in them? Do you feel as if there is a little bit of Jim Benning in what Alvin and Rutherford are doing?
Oh, wow. That's a question right there, Kyle. So I did take a look at this yesterday. Alvin and Benning over their first 18 months on the job. Mm-hmm. And Benning over his first 18 months on the job, he traded away 8 draft picks and he acquired 8 draft picks. Alvin has traded away 7 draft picks and he's acquired 6. So, I mean, potato. I mean, they basically traded away draft picks at the same rate. Now, if we're talking about what kind of draft picks, Benning traded away 3 seconds, 3 thirds, a 5th and a 7th, whereas Alvin has traded away a 1st, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a 5th and a 7th. So, I mean, again, potato a bit there. Both of them have been pretty liberal in terms of trading away draft picks. So that's like where I see the similarity. But we touched on it yesterday, showed it to the everydayers or whoever listened yesterday. They know about this, but basically said that, Benning was trading away draft picks at a time where the Canucks clearly needed to rebuild, whereas Alvin's trading away draft picks at a time where the Canucks need to start contending. So that's the main difference for me. But I do think the similarities kind of end there to an extent. Plus, I don't want to be that's too dark. I know I'm the darkest guy in the program, but I don't want to go that dark. Okay. I do want to touch on, are the Canucks fixed? Because Benning made so many bad pro scouting mistakes, aside from trading draft picks. That's what really sunk this team. And I think the Canucks have done a better job in the pro scouting department. Riley Stillman aside, that was pretty bad. Jack Sednicka was pretty bad, but a lot of the other guys they brought in so far have been pretty good. And, getting Kuzmenko was a big get for this team. And obviously we talked about it yesterday too, some of those other guys as well, with like Bluger and not Bluger, but Aman and Josh were looking pretty good last season. So, this organization's definitely had some wins in the pro scouting department. But are the Canucks fixed? I think that's the main question we wanted to touch on today, right? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
They're not fixed yet. And Jordan Rutherford said today that, they've only have 1 to 2 more bad contracts left. Like you said, shout out to Harmon Dial with picked up the quote from the presser. The Canucks have almost unraveled the cap situation. 1 to 2 contracts away. Kyle, I think we know one of them is Tyler Myers, but maybe who's that second contract or what other contracts, I guess, do the Canucks need to trade away or get rid of before they've completely unraveled the mess that Jim Benning left them in?
I think obviously Myers is one of them. And remember, Rutherford said 1 to 2. So it's more like 1.5. And I think what I'm trying to say is Connor Garland, be a player this season.
Yeah.
Be consistent for 80 games. Be a play driver and pick up points. Be a 50 to 60 point guy. And then we don't have to get rid of his contract. You get what I'm saying? Because I think it's safe to say that Connor Garland, who was a Jim Benning acquisition, but one that if he plays at his best, there's a lot of value there. There's a bit of an outlier type of player there too. Like he's just not a tweener middle six player. Like there's something special, like lowercase when I'm saying special, okay, about Connor Garland. A poor man's special. There's something there when he's at his best. Who do you think is that other contract that the dude's talking about, Jim Rutherford?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, to me, it was Tyler Myers and either Garland or Poolman. I'd still like Poolman again. I know he's on LTIR, but you'd rather not have that contract on your books. So to me, Myers and Poolman are the 2 bad contracts. But you look at Connor Garland, and he's part of what might go down as the worst trade in Canucks history, or at least one of the worst trades in Canucks history. And I know he's a good player. The contract's really not incredibly unfair. It's just the Canucks have a glut of wingers.
It could go to Trevor, you're right, man. Jim Benning could be responsible for a lot of bad trades in Canucks history. Like 90% of his trades have just been bad. His pro scouting is so bad. And it's quite honestly like the reason why he may never get a job again in the NHL in a management role for real. And he maybe even in a scouting role. That being said, that's a conversation for another day for real. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the trade. If Gunter becomes real good, then yeah, this is going to be the worst trade in Canucks history. I know we talk about the Cam Neely thing, which is crazy, but we got to live in the moment a bit. And this one's going to hurt for a decade, nearly a decade, not just because of how good Gunter could be, but because we're going to pay for it on the cap. So it's gross. And they're going to pay for it against the cap when they arguably have 2 of the best players in the NHL, which is gross.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. But yeah, again, I wouldn't call Garland necessarily a problem contract. I think you'd probably, in an ideal world, want to offload one of Garland or Beauvillier. But you also want to trade those guys for pennies on the dollar, unless you're at a cap crunch with the Canucks. Somewhat alleviated yesterday when they traded Tanner Pearson for Casey DeSmith. So again, Canucks mess not fixed yet. Are they a playoff team? This is the last thing I want to touch on before we get to segment 2. Jim Rutherford said that, there's the quote, but for audio only, the changes we made, we have a playoff team if everything goes right. And that's the key word for me there, Kyle, or the key phrase, if everything goes right. I mean, I think the Arizona Coyotes could say we're going to make the playoffs if everything goes right. It's such a
There's
to me,
levels to this.
It's a cop out answer, man. It's a cop out
There's
answer. I know
levels
Jim
to this.
Rutherford's
Come
trying
on,
to
dude.
be optimistic, but I mean, yeah, everything could go right. I mean, pigs could fly if everything goes right too.
No. If the San Jose Sharks are saying this, like if everything goes right, we can make the playoffs. You question it a bit. Same with the Arizona Coyotes. Same with the Montreal Canadiens. Just based on like what level everything goes right could reach for those franchises based again on their talent. But if everything goes right for the Vancouver Canucks, what do you like? He's right. The Canucks are making the playoffs. The Pacific Division, the Central Division, like you noted, and it's making more sense to me. Weak. There's going to be 5 teams out of the Pacific that are going to make the playoffs. And if everything goes right again for a team led by Pettersson and Hughes and Demko, right? If one of those things that goes really right is Demko, the Canucks are making the playoffs. If everything goes right, if JT Miller returns to form, the Canucks are making the playoffs. If everything goes right and Filip Hronek is real good, the Canucks are making the playoffs. If everything goes right and Ian Cole and Carson Soucy, can establish some depth and reliability in the bottom 2 pairings, the Canucks are making the playoffs. Hey, Casey DeSmith, that guy, is a better backup, a way better NHL backup than Spencer Martin. The Canucks are making the playoffs. Like, you can't say the same things for the players on the Arizona Coyotes. So Rutherford is onto something. And the chances of everything going right, though, in the world in general, bro, is slim. And I know we've been preaching it. Right? The Canucks are going to make the playoffs. They got to do it this year. But we've also said, everything has to go right. And for a team that has to lean so much on luck, they better show up to camp in shape and just have the best start in franchise history. Like one of those things. They need to make this road to relevancy as easy as possible. They got to fix the PK issues. They don't need 20 games for these new guys to get used to Tocchet's system. No, they don't need any of that. Everything has to go right from the jump.
That was beautiful, bro. That was a fiery take right there, man. You had some
true.
fire in your voice, man. I like it.
Okay. Before we move on to segment 2, I know we're running short on time here. Trevor's got real work to do. Okay, he's got to pay the bills. On that note, hey, we're almost at 800 subscribers. Again, if Trevor wants to get his kids the best Christmas gifts ever, subscribe to the show. If I actually want to get my girlfriend something for Christmas, dude, subscribe. I didn't get her anything for her birthday because, recession. It is what it is. More on that on another show. Do you think, okay, based on this lineup, you're a smarter guy than I am. Let me pull this out. Look at this. Can you read this for the listeners? Because, again, you can evaluate this. And then I'm going to ask you after, do you think Jim Benning and Alvin, based on the roster that was available to the Canucks during Jim Benning's last game, have done their best? Okay, so read this lineup.
Yeah, so for the listeners, this is the lineup during Jim Benning's last game. I covered this game. It was Pearson, Horvat, Garland, top line, Podkolzin, Miller, Besser, Justin Dowling, Elias Pettersson, Nils Höglander. Last line was Tyler Mott, Jason Dickinson, Alice Chase on defense, Hughes and Shen, OEL, Myers, Burrows, and Poolman with Lamico and Hunt as the extras. So yeah, I think the Canucks are definitely improved from that for sure. For one, just Elias Pettersson is not on the third line with Justin Dowling anymore, which is that's what a wild time in life, man. But yeah, I mean, compared to that, I do think the Canucks are definitely in a better spot.
Now read this for the people, because I love it when you say it, because it's like I can get irrational, okay? Because I get emotional and like I'm hoping for the best, but you're like the guy on the show, so just read this lineup and again just finish off your answer, okay?
Yeah, so this is a projected opening lineup. I'm not sure by who, but they have Beauvillier, Pettersson, Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, Miller, Besser, Höglander, Bluger, Garland, Joshua, Suter, Podkolzin, defense, Hughes, Soucy, Cole, Hronek, Willan, and Myers. The extras, Amon and Irwin. Yeah, it's better for sure. But the first lineup we mentioned, Jim Benning's last game, was a lineup that was, a bottom 10 team in the NHL. And this lineup that I just read, I don't think it's a top 10 team in the NHL. I think it's probably middle of the pack,
The bottom 16 team. Okay. Yeah. I think that was projected from a Canuck fan on Twitter called Zero Pucks Given. And it just made me think. And I just want to throw that at you. I know I just threw a curveball at you, and it may not be the best for podcasting, but I'm just an excited fan talking to Trevor Beggs every day on Locked On Canucks. Again, your Canucks every day. We're going to talk about Casey DeSmith. And you brought up a great point yesterday that I didn't think was that great when you brought up how there's still a competition for that backup spot. So we're going to talk more about that in a couple of minutes. Begsy, who are we shouting out here?
Yeah, you know what? You threw me a curveball there, but life throws you curveballs, okay? That's why you gotta be prepared and take care of your health, because everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple, baby. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. They're doing it all. Don't get caught unprepared. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout on jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com with the promo code LOCKEDON.
People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay. We back on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks, every day. I'm excited, yo. Like I said many times, yo, there's about to be a bit more escapism in this thing called my life because the Canucks matter again, and I really need them to continue to deliver me optimism throughout the whole season, but especially in October and November, because I'm an emotional guy, and if they have like a 3-5 start, a 3-6 start, I think the pessimism is going to enter my blood. It's just the truth. I'm vulnerable right now. I'm like, when you're this open, you're susceptible to being tugged in a lot of directions. Okay, that's the way it goes for Kyle Bowen. Hey, speaking of going in a lot of directions, the Canucks, yeah, they could definitely go in a lot of directions still with that backup position because it's so important. And Trevor, I'm going to let you take the floor. You brought up a good point. Say it again because it's making more sense this time around.
Yeah, so what I mentioned yesterday on the show is that even though the Canucks acquired Casey DeSmith, I wouldn't say he's a shoo-in for the backup role. And I think it comes down to cap, right? If Spencer Martin comes in during training camp and performs better than Casey DeSmith, I think there's an argument that you waive Casey DeSmith and his $1.8 million salary and you keep Spencer Martin on the team. That being said, I'm not going to say it's likely. And part of it is just because Casey DeSmith has a relationship with Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, right? Coming from the Penguins organization previously, they brought him into the NHL with that AHL contract and an NHL contract. And Casey DeSmith has performed well through his NHL career, right? He's been an above average goaltender for his 5 NHL seasons, albeit in a backup role, statistically at least. Last season was his worst as an NHLer. But Pittsburgh also, that was their worst season in 16 years last year. So part of it was the team in front of him now. So that's all. That's all. The only point I'm really going to make there is that I still think it's a competition. I still think Casey DeSmith can't just come in here and think he's going to have an NHL job. But I think he probably already has that mentality because in Pittsburgh, they had too many goalies. He gets traded to Montreal. And I know Montreal's a bit of a sad sack team, but they had 3 other goalies aside from DeSmith who played NHL games last year. And now it comes to Vancouver. And again, him and 3 other goalies played NHL games last year too, right? Silovs, Martin, DeSmith, and Demko. So I do think it's still DeSmith's job to lose, but we'll see what happens in training camp.
In other words, as Canucks fans, we got to hope that this dude is not just excited to be in Vancouver, but motivated to prove that he does belong to be the only backup in Vancouver and backing up Demko and coming in for relief and winning 75% of the games he plays. Like he's got to prove it in camp. We've talked about the guys who've been here before and how they got to prove it in camp. Casey DeSmith still has a lot to prove there as well. Trevor, another thing happened yesterday as well. I think I'm not completely like flipping my script about the whole Tanner Pearson thing, but I heard something that really made me It made me think differently. I feel as if I'm getting a little evil, just a little evil. We talked about it off the top. The badass bowing, canine bowing, the big dog. Okay, badass bowing a thing, and for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and this since like July, since we talked about how Tanner Pearson may come back. I think I was the first one to say, "Yo, let's waive this guy. Let's make it as easy. You know what I'm saying? Make it as easy as possible. Let's not attach no draft picks. This version of the Canucks has to stop doing that. Can we just do things more cleanly?" And then you brought up yesterday how that wouldn't fit well with the team. This guy works his ass off, comes back, he does his thing in camp, but because of cap situation, they got to do what? They got to waive him and essentially put him in a place where he's not going to get picked up at that salary cap. There's no way anyone is picking up Tanner Pearson. And during the last year of his season, the last year of his contract, he doesn't have an opportunity to prove that he can still be an NHLer and earn another contract. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I agree with what they did. I have flipped the script because that would have happened. And now he gets to play in Montreal. Like, I guess so. That's not guaranteed that he's going to play in Montreal, but there's a better chance that he gets a spot in Montreal and he can prove his point and earn another NHL contract, because that wasn't going to happen here. If he gets waived and gets sent to Abbotsford, he's probably at the end of the season signing like a PTO or like a 1 year, 2-way deal, 1 year, $750,000. And now again, he has a point, being a good guy, good team guy, a veteran in the league, to earn more money. And that kind of actually made me feel more positive about how the Canucks handled business this time around. I know it cost them a 3rd-round pick, and to circle it back to Casey DeSmith, I think that's why I feel as if Benning and Alvin are just praying every night that he's the backup, so the 3rd-round pick can kind of be, lost in the abyss. But all in all, I do like the way the Canucks handled this situation at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mentioned it yesterday too. I don't think waiving Pearson would have been a good look for the organization. I mean, there already could be an NHLPA grievance. It's been reported that the NHLPA got involved in his situation already. So yeah, I think it's messy enough as it is based on what he went through last year. Now the fact that he's been traded by the Canucks, he doesn't really get to suit up for them again after everything went down. So it's already a messy enough situation. They did the right thing for Pearson. They did the right thing for their backup goalie situation. We think. We'll see. Did they do the right thing by trading away another 3rd-round pick? That I don't feel as great about. But you got to take some pain if you want the gains.
I put up a quote, a poll on our Twitter. I said, "Who's the best 3rd-round pick in NHL history? Gretzky, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, I think, or Elias Pettersson?" And the poll got like 4 votes. I was being sarcastic, obviously, but no. Honestly, I love how educated the fan base is, and how at the same time, since the whole Benning thing and what we went through, we're still patient and we want everything to go right in our terms. And I feel as if again, the fan base is intelligent, and this whole continuation of trading assets to get rid of contracts, even though that's the only move, it's so frowned upon. It's so frowned upon by the majority. Now, there's some people that are like, "Yo, who cares? It's a 3rd-round pick." It's like, dude, come on. Again, the Canucks, they're such a bottom-dwelling team that they should be the last team that, again, continues to have to do this. But keynote, they have to do this. They have to do this. They have to. You know what else they have to do? They have to watch out for us, because it's your Canucks every day, okay? Monday to Friday, the whole year. It's our first season doing this, and I'm excited, and we're really blessed to have you listening and watching this program. Again, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you did enjoy today's episode, and leave us a review wherever you listen to this on your favorite podcatching platform. But we got to get out of here soon, so let's get to Comment Corner after the break, again on Locked On Canucks.
But first, hey, I got to talk about FanDuel, okay? Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place a $5 bet, just $5. That's all you got to do. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. I got to say, my Seattle Seahawks, we're decent underdogs against the Detroit Lions, okay? I know Kyle is the Detroit Lions, his least favorite team in the NFL. Well, guess what? The Seattle Seahawks did it for you, Kyle. As much as the Seahawks are your second most hated team in the NFL, they did it for you, buddy. But if you put some money down on the Seahawks last weekend, A, I hope you did it on FanDuel, and B, you might have made a few bucks because they were 5.5-point dogs, baby, but still got the win. So when you're on FanDuel, there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, overs, unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Okay, you're back on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. We'll get the comment corner in 25 seconds. But first, got to ask the question because Begsy's actually my friend. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling great, man. Okay. Just excited for the Canucks season to get underway. We got one step closer today with the season opening press conference. Training camp starts tomorrow. I'm excited to see, what the groups look like and some of the lines that they roll out here over the next couple of days as well.
And here's another question. What's your little one? Actually, both of them. What are they going to be for Halloween this year? I know we're jumping ahead of it. It's only September 20th, but have the creative juices gotten flowing? Because I feel as if them dressing up is more for YouTube because of the pictures and the memories and the laughs. So is anything coming to mind?
Well, my daughter definitely likes to tell us what she wants. She wants to be Rubble from Paw Patrol,
Oh,
which
cool.
is the bulldog, I guess, the bulldog with the construction hat. So interesting choice. And
Beautiful.
my 3-month-old son, I don't know, man. That's a
What's he
great
saying?
question.
What's he saying? What has he said anything?
He's saying mama, and he's spitting up everywhere and puking everywhere.
He's already saying mama?
Well, I think it's kind of like accidentally, but I don't know.
Yo, he's a future broadcaster, man. He's a future broadcaster, man. That's something else, man. A future podcaster, which is exactly what Trevor wants his son to do down the road. Let's be honest. Let's be real, okay? Again, you're listening to Locked On Canucks, and let's get to our favorite segment, Comment Corner.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
Today's comment comes from our friend Rutherford.
Think about this. If Silovs was the backup this season and performed well, they'd have to pay him a lot more sooner than later. DeSmith buys them more cheap Silovs seasons, you know.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about, okay? The intelligence, not only in the market, but in the comments below by some of the people. Just had me not only just thinking about this, but essentially thinking that he's bang on. And what if Rutherford and Alvin were thinking ahead? Like, what if Silovs beats Martin in camp, which there was like a 50, maybe a 60% chance that he would. He's confident and he's coming off the World Championships and he's a better goalie. And then he plays 22 starts or 22 games for the Vancouver Canucks and he finishes 16-4-2. And then they got to sign him. Well, what's that number looking like? Again, did the Canucks save a little bit of money in the long-term, short-term, same thing in this situation because they got Casey DeSmith as their backup?
Yeah, they 100% saved some money by making this move because, like in that scenario, you're right. Archer Silovs is in a contract year. His qualifying offer is $813,000 according to Cap Friendly. So, I mean, if he spends most of the season in the AHL, even if he lights it up, he's going to be a pretty manageable salary. But if he comes in, like you said, in the backup role, wins 80% of his games, it's a much different conversation. I think it's interesting. I think more about this DeSmith acquisition, and the Canucks definitely are not a fan of Spencer Martin. Alvin mentioned Silovs ahead of Martin in his season-ending media availability. Now they bring in DeSmith, the guy that they worked with and signed in Pittsburgh. So I think Martin, the pressure's really on Martin to make a difference, or else he's going to get really lost in the shuffle here pretty quickly for the Vancouver Canucks. But yeah, shout out to the commenter. Smart move. Let Silovs cook in the AHL this season. Sign him to a cheap 2-year extension, and then probably in that next contract, he's going to force his way into the Canucks roster.
Look at me agreeing with this fan, even though I just said, oh, what if Silovs finished 16-4-2? That'd be a bad thing for the Canucks. Yo, that'd be sick, dude. That'd be sick for the Vancouver Canucks, okay? That'd be a great problem, yo. Again, I'm all over the place. Really all over the place. And Spencer Martin, he may be all over the place if he can't do it in the NHL this season. We're talking about a tweener guy. So maybe that competitive nature, and he knows that this could be his last chance to get a good contract in the NHL, throws him over the top and has him somehow beating Casey DeSmith. Hey, speaking about beating things, we got to beat the time here, okay? Beggs, you got to get back to work. That was another episode of Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Do you enjoy life, take care, and be optimistic, not just about the Canucks, but about your life. Remember what Bob Marley said, okay? Every little thing is going to be all right. Trevor Beggs, sign us out.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to those everydayers, the occasional listeners. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the ride, baby. Welcome to the Locked On Canucks family. Okay. What we're going to touch on later this week, I do want to touch on some training camp battles. We're going to give you updates from what's going on at Canucks training camp as we follow along. But tomorrow, the big battle, okay? Vancouver Canucks versus Ottawa Senators. Who's winning the Stanley Cup first? Kyle and I are going to have a little battle against the two hosts, Ross and Brandon of Locked On Senators. That's coming up on tomorrow's episode. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Ballard, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.